The outer border of the Galactic Empire was usually quiet, silent, and predictable. Stars burned softly, patrol ships drifted like slow shadows, and nothing dangerous ever crossed the invisible frontier. For hundreds of years, the Empire believed this border was safe, untouchable, secure, and perfectly protected. But on this day, everything changed. Commander Rallon stood inside Observation Deck 7 with his hands behind his back. He was an old Imperial officer. Known for his calm mind and strong discipline, he had watched thousands of sensor reports across his lifetime, but the tone of the alert today was different. It came sharp, cold, and urgent. A young operator rushed toward him, almost tripping over the steps. "Commander, you need to see this." His voice shook like he had seen a ghost. Rallon turned slowly. "What is the emergency?" "A signal, sir, an unidentified warship right on the border." This made the commander raise an eyebrow. Unidentified warships did not simply appear in Imperial territory, not without permission, not without detection, and certainly not without warning. "Show me," Rallon ordered. On the large holoscreen, a dark shape appeared. At first, it looked like a glitch, a blur of metal and shadow that sensors struggled to focus on. But then it sharpened. The outline grew clearer. The operators fell silent. No one spoke. Because the shape was gigantic, nothing in the Empire's registry matched it, and yet it looked familiar. "Magnify," Rallon said softly. The image zoomed in, revealing a massive armored hull with strange plating, glowing blue lines, and a design unlike anything seen in the Empire. "It looks human," someone whispered. Rallon froze. Humans? That was impossible. Humans were a small, primitive species. Their technology was weak, their ships tiny. Their presence in the galaxy almost unnoticeable. This thing was not tiny. The warship was larger than any human vessel ever recorded, bigger than most Imperial cruisers, almost the size of a dreadnought. Its surface was covered in mysterious glowing shields, no visible weapon barrels, and yet the whole design screamed power. A cold silence filled the room. "Run signature analysis," Rallon ordered. "We already did, sir, 4 times, same result. And it is human. 100% match." The commander felt something he had not felt in many years, fear. "Impossible," he whispered. "Humans cannot build something like this." But the screen did not lie. Across the observation deck, panic began to move through the officers like a slow wave. Voices whispered. Why would humans send a warship here? Did they steal this from someone? No, they couldn't even build a corvette properly last decade. This ship, it's beyond human engineering. Commander Rallon raised a hand. Silence. The room went quiet instantly. "Contact the Strategic Council," he ordered. "This is now a Level 9 emergency." A Level 9 emergency had only been declared twice in the history of the Empire, once for a black hole event and once for an unknown alien parasite outbreak. This was the 3rd time. The operator beside him gulped and sent the coded signal. Rallon turned back to the screen. The human warship drifted silently in space, like a giant beast resting, hiding its claws. There were no signs of aggression, no weapon systems charging, no movement at all, yet its presence alone made everyone nervous. "Are we scanning it successfully?" Rallon asked. The sensor team exchanged worried looks. "Sir," the chief technician said, "our scanners are failing. The ship is blocking every probe. We cannot see inside. We cannot measure its weapons. We cannot even detect its engine type." Rallon inhaled sharply. "A ship that could block Imperial scanners, that should not exist." "Commander," another officer said, "should we call nearby fleets for support?" Rallon considered this. "Not yet. If we show panic, we show weakness." But his eyes betrayed that the panic was already inside him. Minutes later, the huge hologram in the center of the room flickered. The Imperial Strategic Council appeared, a full circle of high-ranking leaders, each wearing dark robes and metallic badges symbolizing their rank. The high strategist leaned forward. "Commander Rallon, report." Rallon stepped closer to the holo circle. "We have detected an unknown warship near the outer border. It is human, but unlike anything humans should be capable of building." The strategist frowned. "Show us the vessel." Rallon nodded. The screen behind him shifted, displaying the massive human ship. The members of the council leaned in, examining every detail. Murmurs filled the holographic chamber. "This cannot be human manufacturing. These shields are beyond our tech. This hull design, this is not primitive." "What are they hiding?" The high strategist raised a hand. "Can the ship hear us?" "No, strategist, we have not sent a signal yet." "Do not engage," the strategist ordered firmly. "Observe only." Rallon bowed his head. "Understood." The hologram faded. The observation deck grew silent again. Everyone was waiting. Everyone was afraid. Then something unexpected happened. A soft beep echoed from the communication console. "Commander," the operator said in a trembling voice, "the human ship is transmitting a message." Rallon's eyes widened. "A message to us?" "Yes, sir, a direct communication." The entire room leaned forward. "What does it say?" Rallon demanded. "No audio yet, but the message header reads, 'Imperial forces, stand down.'" Several officers gasped. "What? Humans are commanding us?" Rallon felt his jaw tight and play the message. The operator swallowed hard and pressed the activation key. Static filled the screen, then a figure appeared, a human, tall, calm, wearing a dark military uniform with no visible rank symbols. His face was steady, his eyes cold and confident, not scared, not confused. He looked like someone who had seen many battles and survived all of them. His voice came through deep and controlled. Imperial forces stand down, we come with a warning. The room fell silent, dead silent, because humans never spoke like this. Humans were always anxious, always respectful, always aware of their weakness in the galaxy. This human, he spoke like someone who held power. Rallon stepped closer to the screen. "Identify yourself," he demanded. The human commander simply nodded. "I am Captain Elias Ward of the Terran Vanguard." Terran Vanguard, Imperial databases had no record of such a fleet. "We detected your ship entering Imperial territory," Rallon said. "Explain your purpose." Captain Ward leaned forward slightly. "We are here because your empire is in danger. A threat is coming, something that cannot be stopped by your fleets." Rallon narrowed his eyes. "What threat?" The captain did not answer immediately. His silence was heavy, chilling. Then he spoke slowly. "The same threat that destroyed 3 human colonies, the same force that we built this ship to fight." The officers murmured again. 3 human colonies destroyed. This is not possible. Humans would have asked for help. Or maybe they knew no one could help them. Rallon lifted his hand to silence the room and addressed the screen again. "Why bring this threat to our border?" Captain Ward's expression hardened. "Because if you do not prepare, the destruction will reach you within months." Rallon's heart pounded. "You expect us to believe this?" The captain responded with strange calmness. "Believe it or die unprepared." The transmission ended abruptly. The screen went black. For a moment no one moved. The entire observation deck was frozen like statues. Even the soft humming of the station felt louder. Rallon slowly exhaled, trying to keep his composure. He turned to his officers. "Prepare a full tactical analysis," he ordered. "We need to verify if this threat is real." "Commander," the sensor officer interrupted, voice trembling again, "we have another problem." Rallon faced him sharply. "What is it now?" The officer pointed at the main screen. "The human ship, it has powered its shields to full capacity." The screen zoomed out, showing the warship glowing with bright blue energy waves. Rallon felt a cold shiver crawl down his spine. "What are they doing?" he whispered. The officer's voice shook. I think, sir, the human ship is preparing for something." Rallon stared at the massive warship, feeling the weight of fear settle deep inside him. The humans had changed, and the Empire was not ready. The message from the human captain echoed in Commander Rallon's mind long after the screen went black. The observation deck remained frozen, as if time itself had stopped. No officer dared breathe too loudly. Every pair of eyes stared at the silent human warship, glowing with blue energy like a sleeping titan. Commander Rallon finally broke the silence. "Send out a fleet-wide alert. Classify the human vessel as unknown threat level." The operator hesitated. "Sir, what level?" Rallon looked at the screen again. The ship's energy shield rippled like a living ocean. "Maximum level," he whispered. The operator swallowed and nodded. Within minutes, the shockwave of the Discovery spread across the entire outer border. Patrol cruisers reported the news to their commanders. Commanders reported it to higher fleets. Higher fleets transmitted it to command sectors. And eventually every major ship in the region heard the same terrifying message. "A human warship of unknown power detected at Border Sector 12. Proceed with caution." The word human repeated in thousands of channels, each time said with confusion, disbelief. Slow-forming fear. Humans were never a danger, humans were never powerful, humans were never bold enough to enter Imperial space uninvited. So how could a single human ship create such panic? On the Imperial battlecruiser Vortina, Captain Relaz paced across the bridge. His ship had rushed to the border after receiving the emergency report. He glanced at his officers, who looked just as uneasy. "Are we sure it's human?" Relaz asked. His second officer nodded. "Yes, sir, the signature matches human energy patterns, but the power levels are impossible." Relaz frowned. "Explain." The officer tapped the console. "Human ships usually generate weak energy outputs, child level, but this one generates more power than our Dreadnought class." A murmur spread across the bridge. "That makes no sense," another engineer said. "Humans can barely power a long-range jump engine." Relaz stared at the projection. "Then either our scanners are broken or humans evolved overnight." But no one believed scanners were broken. Across the Empire, fear slowly crept through every corridor, every office, every station. Rumors grew faster than light. Humans built a superweapon. No, they stole alien tech. No, they discovered a new power source. No, they awakened something. No, this is a trap. People argued, but everyone agreed on one thing: this should not be possible. Back on Observation Deck 7, Commander Rallon watched the human ship, waiting for anything to happen. Officers moved like nervous shadows behind him. Every few seconds, someone whispered about new rumors coming from other fleets. "Sir, Fleet Command is requesting updates." "Tell them the ship remains stationary," Rallon replied. "And the humans?" Rallon hesitated, silent. The silence was the worst part. If the human ship fired weapons, at least they would understand its purpose. But this ship simply existed, and that alone was terrifying, because powerful things didn't need to speak. Meanwhile, inside the Imperial Council chamber, panic spread like wildfire. The 12 High Council members sat around a glowing circular table. Their robes shimmered with gold, but their faces showed fear. "This is a strategic threat," one counselor said sharply. "A human vessel should not hold this kind of power." "We must assume they are hiding more ships," another replied. "Impossible," argued another. "Humans do not have the resources." "Then how did they build this one?" Silence, no answer. The high strategist finally spoke, voice steady but tight. "We must not engage. If the ship can block scans and disable cruisers with a pulse, any attack will be suicide." An older counselor leaned forward. "Then what do you suggest?" "Observe, wait, understand." "Understand what?" The counselor snapped. The strategist hesitated. "That humans are no longer the weak species we believed." The table fell silent, because admitting that was equal to admitting the Empire might not be the strongest power anymore, and that idea alone felt like a star collapsing. While the Council argued, Fleet Sector 8 received new data. Commander Lyron, a strict and serious officer, analyzed the readings with his science team. "This energy shield," the chief scientist said, "has no known signature. No Empire technology matches it, no Zeller technology, no Quarren technology, nothing." "That is impossible," Lyron said. The scientist shook his head. "Not impossible, Commander." New Lyron rubbed his temples. "Can it be copied?" The scientist actually laughed, a tired, hopeless laugh. "Commander, the shield bends our scanners away like paper. We cannot even touch it. Copying it, that would take a century." Lyron stiffened. "What are humans doing with technology that is a century ahead of us?" The scientist swallowed hard. "That is what we are trying to understand." Back at the border, small Imperial frigates circled the human warship at a safe distance. None dared approach too close. Even the bravest pilot felt their hands tremble. One pilot spoke quietly through the comm channel. "It's not moving. It's like it's watching us." Another pilot replied, "I don't think it's watching. I think it doesn't care." A third pilot shuddered. "That's even worse." Inside Observation Deck 7, an urgent beep sounded. Commander Rallon, the communication officer, said, "We have received reports from 3 nearby outposts. They say civilians are panicking." "Why?" "Because someone leaked a holo image of the ship. People think an invasion is coming." Rallon clenched his fists. "This is exactly what I feared." He turned to the officer. "Send a controlled message to the public channels. Tell them the Empire is in full control." The operator paused. "But are we?" Rallon didn't answer because he didn't know. As hours passed, more fleets arrived around the human vessel. Larger ships, heavier guns, dreadnoughts, carrier class. The Empire's border began to glow with the lights of hundreds of warships. But not one dared fire, not after what happened earlier. At one point, Admiral Veros, commander of the 2nd Imperial Fleet, sent a message to Rallon. "Commander, have you tested their defenses?" Rallon hesitated. "Admiral, we fired a small scan pulse earlier and they reacted." "How?" "They disabled 3 of our cruisers. Instantly, no damage but complete shutdown." Veros narrowed his eyes. "You're telling me a human ship disabled Imperial cruisers like turning off a light?" Rallon nodded slowly. Veros leaned back in disbelief. "This is concerning." Concerning was an understatement. It was terrifying. Across the Empire, fear evolved into something worse: paranoia. Council members whispered about human spies. Fleet commanders worried about hidden human fleets. Scientists wondered if humans had discovered dark matter weapons. Religious groups whispered that the humans had made a deal with unknown gods. Everywhere, people whispered the same question: when did humans become powerful? And while fear spread like fire, the human ship remained still, silent, patient, as if waiting for the Empire to come to a conclusion on its own. Hours later, as the starry sky dimmed on the outer border, Rallon stood alone in front of the holo screen. He stared at the ship for a long time, his mind racing. He whispered to himself, "Humans, what have you become?" Behind him, the sensor chief approached. "Commander, new data. What is it?" Rallon asked quickly. The chief hesitated, his voice trembled. "The human ship has deployed small drones." Rallon's heart sank. "Drones? Yes, sir, hundreds of them. They are scanning, but not us." Rallon frowned. "Then what are they scanning?" The officer swallowed. "They are scanning the space behind them as if they are looking for something." Rallon felt the fear rise again. "Looking for what?" The officer whispered. We don't know, but whatever it is, the humans fear it." Rallon's eyes widened. If the humans, the ones with the impossible warship, were afraid, then the Empire should be terrified. The chapter ends. The drones drifting away from the human warship created a strange, ghostly pattern across the dark border of Imperial space. Tiny blue lights glowed softly as each drone spread out like a ring around the massive vessel. Commander Rallon watched in silence. He felt something cold settle in his stomach, not fear this time, something worse, understanding. Whatever the humans were looking for, it wasn't the Empire, and that was terrifying. He turned to the sensor chief. "Any idea what those drones are searching for?" The chief swallowed. "No, sir, but their scanning range is enormous, much larger than anything we have." "What are the readings?" The chief tapped the console, eyes widening. "Sir, their drones are scanning for gravitational distortions." Rallon stiffened. "Distortions? Why? Distortions on a massive scale." The chief added quietly, Like something very big moves through space, something that bends gravity. A shiver crawled down Rallon's spine, something big enough to frighten the humans, he whispered. The chief nodded slowly. Whatever the humans are searching for, it is not a normal enemy. The distant fleets surrounding the border watched the drones too. Pilots whispered inside their cockpits, officers muttered across command decks. Everyone felt the tension growing heavier, thicker. Like the air itself was turning to stone. Admiral Veros sent a direct message from his flagship. Commander Rallon, report immediately. Rallon responded, Admiral, the humans are deploying gravity scan drones. Veros narrowed his eyes, scanning for us. No, Admiral, they are scanning the region behind them. Veros leaned closer to the holo screen. Why would they do that? Rallon exhaled, because something is coming. The Admiral fell silent for a long moment. Neither man spoke. Finally, Veros broke the silence. Very well, send me everything you have, and Commander, be honest, how strong are they? Rallon answered quietly, stronger than anything we've ever seen. While the Empire struggled to understand the situation, the human ship suddenly glowed brighter. Not in an aggressive way, it looked like the vessel was preparing to communicate. The main holoscreen on Observation Deck 7 flickered to life. A signal, a direct transmission. Commander Rallon swallowed hard, put it on screen. Static flashed, then sharpened. Captain Elias Ward appeared again, standing tall, calm, and sharper than before. His expression was serious, almost grim. Imperial forces, he began, we request permission to speak directly with your leadership. Rallon cleared his throat. Our council is currently in session. They are reviewing your presence. Ward nodded once. Good, they must listen carefully. The captain stepped closer, his face tightening, because we bring information your empire desperately needs. Rallon's heart pounded. Explain. Ward's voice dropped into something darker. You remember the colonies we lost, 3 human worlds gone? Yes, Rallon answered slowly. Ward continued. Those worlds were not destroyed by war, not by weapons, not even by nature. Rallon felt the deck grow colder. Then what destroyed them? Captain Ward spoke the words slowly, carefully, like each word was heavy enough to crush a ship. A force that eats systems. Silence, not a single voice or whisper broke the stillness. Finally, one of Rallon's officers stuttered. It eats systems? Ward nodded. It consumes gravity, light, matter. It destroys planets without firing a shot. It erases life like it was never there. Rallon's breath caught in his throat. You are telling us this is coming here? Ward's expression hardened. Yes, we traced the path. The entity, or swarm, or whatever it is moving toward your border. And then Ward added something that made everyone freeze. And it moves faster when it senses large energy empires. Rallon's mind raced. Empires, large energy, big targets. The Galactic Empire was exactly that. Inside the Imperial Council chamber, the message reached the High Strategist. The entire chamber erupted in panic. One counselor shouted, he is lying, humans are tricksters. Another countered, why would humans lie about losing colonies? A third argued, to make us afraid. The High Strategist raised his voice. Silence, the room quieted. He rewound the message and watched the human captain's eyes, calm, clear, not the eyes of a liar. He believes what he is saying, the strategist whispered. A counselor slammed his hand on the table. What does that matter? Humans are weak. They always exaggerate threats. The strategist shook his head. Weak humans do not build ships that blind our scanners. Weak humans do not create technology greater than ours. Another counselor stood. Then what do you propose? The strategist exhaled slowly. We send someone to speak to the human captain directly. The chamber shook with gasps. Impossible. He is too dangerous. He might kill the emissary. The strategist glared at them. And if we do nothing, if he is correct, then entire systems will be wiped out before we even react. The counselors fell silent, their arguments dying. Pride was one thing, survival was another. Back at the border, the tension climbed again when the human ship powered down its shields completely. Rallon's officers jumped to their feet. Commander, their shields just went offline. Rallon stared at the screen. Why? He whispered. The sensor chief analyzed the readings. No signs of weapon charging, no aggression. They simply dropped their defenses. Why would they make themselves vulnerable? Another officer asked. Rallon's eyes widened as the realization hit him. They're showing trust. The officer blinked. Trust toward us. Rallon nodded. They dropped shields to show they aren't here as enemies. A young sensor technician added, or they want us to know they aren't afraid of us at all. The room fell quiet. Both were true. Moments later, a shuttle launched from the human warship. Small. Silver sleek, it moved slowly, almost respectfully. Rallon reacted immediately. Identify that vessel, the comm officer replied. It is a human diplomatic craft, shields inactive, no weapons. Rallon's eyes narrowed. Destination, the officer swallowed. Heading straight for our station, Commander. The entire deck froze. A human shuttle flying directly toward the Empire's outer border command station. Was this bravery or madness? Rallon stepped forward. Prepare docking bay 3, place guards but do not harm the passengers. Yes, Commander, and one more thing, Rallon added softly. Do not make sudden movements. Humans came in peace, we must respond the same way. When the shuttle landed, its doors opened slowly with a soft hiss. Imperial soldiers watched nervously, weapons in hand but pointed downwards as ordered. Two human figures stepped out. One wore a long, dark uniform, hands behind his back. Walking with calm steps, the other wore a light armor suit with glowing blue lines carrying a compact device. Commander Rallon approached them with a small escort. The first human bowed his head politely. "I am Captain Elias Ward," he said. "Thank you for receiving us." Rallon nodded stiffly. "Welcome to Imperial Border Station 12. Ward studied Rallon closely. "You are Rallon, correct? The commander who first responded to our signal." "Yes." Ward nodded again. "Good, you seem reasonable. We will need reasonable leaders in the days ahead." Rallon frowned. "Explain that." Ward gestured to the device carried by the second human. "We brought something to show you, proof of what destroyed our colonies." Rallon's heart thumped. "Proof," he repeated. "Yes," Ward said quietly. "A recording from the last moments of our third lost colony." The humans activated the device. A hologram burst to life. Rallon felt the blood drain from his face. The recording showed a peaceful human world, families walking, children playing, cities alive with lights. Then the sky darkened, clouds twisted unnaturally, buildings vibrated, gravity bent, the ground cracked open, people screamed, the atmosphere rippled like boiling water, and then a massive invisible wave swept over the planet, and everything turned to dust. The recording ended. Nobody spoke. Ward said softly, "This is what is coming." Rallon whispered, This thing destroyed a whole planet." Ward nodded. 3 planets, and it is not slowing down." Rallon's voice trembled. "And now it's coming here." Ward's eyes darkened. "Yes," he leaned closer. "And when it arrives, the Empire will fall unless we stand together." The hologram of the destroyed human colony still glowed faintly in the air, but no one in the Imperial docking bay moved. No one blinked. No one even breathed too loudly. Commander Rallon stood stiffly, staring at Captain Ward with a face that could not hide shock. 3 human worlds gone, not conquered, not bombed, not invaded, simply erased. Rallon tried to speak, but his voice cracked. "This force, you call it what?" Ward shook his head. "We don't know its true name, we only call it the Silence." "The Silence?" Rallon repeated. "Yes," Ward said, "because it devours everything, cities, oceans. Eyes leaving only silence behind." Rallon felt the words sink in like heavy metal. "And this silence, it is heading toward us." Ward didn't answer verbally. He simply gave a small, sad nod. Inside Observation Deck 7, officers gathered quietly around the holo feed showing the docking bay meeting. "They really lost 3 worlds. This is worse than we imagined. What kind of enemy destroys planets without firing? Was it even an enemy or something natural? Natural things don't erase entire planets." Fear whispered across every console and every mind. The Empire was proud, powerful, and confident. But today something broke inside them. The idea that humans had faced something far beyond the Empire's ability and survived, that fact alone was enough to shake thousands of officers. Back in the docking bay, Rallon straightened himself and looked Ward directly in the eyes. "If what you say is true, then why did you come here?" Rallon demanded. "Why seek us? Why show us this?" Ward sighed softly. "Because the silence follows power," he said. "It feeds on energy-rich civilizations, and your empire is very loud." A chill passed through Rallon's body. "So we are a target." "You will be," Ward replied. "Soon." Rallon stepped forward. "Then why are you helping us?" Ward didn't hesitate. "Because when we humans faced the silence, no one helped us." Rallon felt a stab of guilt. Because it was true, the Empire had ignored the human distress signals. They thought humans were exaggerating. Human problems rarely mattered to powerful species. Ward continued, "We built that warship not to fight you, but to warn you." He paused. "But if warning is not enough, then we are prepared to fight alongside you." Rallon looked at him sharply. "Alongside us?" Ward nodded once. "We cannot defeat it alone." Before Rallon could respond, an alarm exploded across the docking bay. A shrill, sharp, metallic scream. "Beep-whoop, beep-whoop, beep-whoop." Rallon turned instantly. "Report!" A security officer shouted from the wall console. "Commander, an Imperial cruiser, the Vorskian, is moving toward the human ship." Rallon's eyes widened. "What? Why?" "We do not know. They are charging their weapons." Rallon exploded. "Open a channel now." The officer tapped rapidly. No response. Rallon cursed under his breath. Someone was acting without orders. Someone was about to trigger a war. He turned to Ward. "Your ship must not fire if the Empire sees any aggression." Ward raised a calm hand. "Don't worry, Commander, we won't fire." He tapped the device on his wrist. "But we will defend ourselves." In space, the Imperial cruiser Vorskian accelerated toward the human warship, its cannons glowing bright red. Inside the Vorskian, Captain Thaler roared at his officers. "Lock all weapons on target. The humans are lying. They brought a superweapon to our border." "Captain," a junior officer said, trembling, "the Council ordered us not to engage." "The Council is weak," Thaler snapped. "Humans must be taught their place. Fire on my mark." The officer hesitated only 2 seconds, then obeyed. Because disobeying Thaler was often more dangerous than facing enemies on the bridge. Thaler shouted. 3 Observation Deck 7 erupted with chaos. They're charging weapons. They're going to fire. Commander, what do we do if the humans respond? Rallon grabbed the nearest comm panel. This is Commander Rallon Vorskian. Stand down immediately. You are violating direct orders. The panel screamed in error tone. They shut down incoming channels, the comm officer said. 2, Thaler counted. Rallon felt his heart stop. In space, the human warship did nothing. No shields, no charging, no movement. It simply sat there, waiting. Ward's voice echoed across Rallon's memory. We will defend ourselves. He swallowed. 1, Thaler said. He raised his hand. Fire! Bright red energy burst from the Vorskian, streaking toward the human warship like a spear of burning light. The laser hit the hull. Every Imperial ship watched. Every Imperial officer held their breath. Every guard in the docking bay stiffened. Rallon whispered, please don't fire back, but the human warship didn't need to fire because the laser never even reached the hull. A meter away from the surface, the energy beam bent sideways like elastic rubber. It twisted, curved, and then scattered into harmless sparks that dissolved into space. The entire Imperial fleet gasped. What? How? Is this magic? No, technology. A second later, the human ship gave a response. Not a weapon, not a beam. Not an explosion, just a gentle pulse of blue energy. A soft wave, calm, silent, peaceful. It spread outward like a ripple across a pond. The wave reached the Vorskian, and everything on board shut down instantly. Weapons, engines, lights, life support, navigation, communications, all dead. The ship drifted powerlessly into space like a toy pushed by a breeze. Inside the observation deck, officers screamed. They disabled the cruiser. No explosion detected. No hull damage. They just turned it off. Rallon stared with wide eyes. What technology is this? Ward quietly answered behind him. It's called a null field wave. It disables enemy ships without killing anyone. Rallon turned around sharply. You could cripple entire fleets with that. Ward nodded. We can. A chill ran down every Imperial spine. Ward added calmly, but we only use it to avoid killing. On the powerless Vorskian. Thaler struggled in the dark. What happened? What is going on? Officers stumbled around him. Sir, all systems down. Backup power unresponsive. We are completely helpless, Captain. Thaler slammed his fist into the dead console. Humans did this. No one answered. They all knew the truth. Thaler screamed in pure rage. How? No one knew that answer either. Back on the station, Rallon looked at Ward with new eyes. Not fear, not anger, but something deeper. Respect. Your ship, it is beyond anything the Empire has built. Ward didn't smile, he didn't brag, he simply said we were forced to evolve. The silence kills anything it touches. We needed a ship that could stand against it. Rallon swallowed, and can it? Ward looked away for 1 second, and that 1 second told Rallon everything. The human warship was powerful, but even it could not fully stop the silence. Ward turned back. We can fight it, delay it. But no vessel can face it alone. Rallon understood. This was not a warning, this was a plea. Suddenly the human scanning drones flashed red, all of them. A deep, thundering alarm echoed from the human captain's wrist device. Ward's eyes widened, the first sign of panic Rallon had seen from him. Rallon stepped closer. What happened? Ward's voice was low and cold. We found it. Found what? Ward turned slowly toward the main viewport. The silence. The moment Captain Ward said the words, we found it, the entire docking bay fell silent. His voice had no anger, no fear, no emotion, only certainty. And certainty was the one thing that terrified Commander Rallon most. Rallon stepped closer, lowering his voice. What do you mean you found it? Ward didn't answer immediately. He tapped the device on his wrist, bringing up a holographic image shaped like a slowly turning sphere. The sphere was black. Darker than space itself, it twisted and pulsed like it was alive. Rallon felt pressure behind his eyes just from looking at it. Ward pointed at the black shape. This is a gravitational echo, a footprint left by the silence. Rallon frowned. A footprint like something passed here. Ward nodded. Yes, the drones picked up a large-scale distortion powerful enough to bend the starlight. That echo is fresh, too fresh. Rallon's voice grew thin. How fresh? Ward's answer came like a blade. Hours. Rallon felt his stomach twist. Hours. That meant the silence had moved through a region of space so recently that even human scanners were shaking. Ward continued. The silence is moving faster now, faster than when it destroyed our first colony. The second human, the armored one, spoke for the first time. His voice was low and filled with tension. It's accelerating, following the energy trail. Rallon turned sharply. Energy trail. Ward walked toward the nearest panel and pointed outside toward the endless field of Imperial ships. Your empire generates enormous power. Your fleets, your stations, your cities, everything emits energy. He looked at Rallon directly. The silence feeds on energy. It hunts civilizations like yours. Rallon felt cold sweat forming on his back. And we, he said slowly, are its next target. Ward nodded. Yes. Across the Empire's border fleets. Confusion turned to panic as news spread. We detected a gravitational spike. Is the threat here? What is that black reading? It looks like a wormhole. No, it's something else. Why are the humans so calm? Imperial captains tried to keep control, but fear spread like fire through dry air. Even the mighty Imperial dreadnoughts felt small now. Inside the flagship of Admiral Varos, the bridge shook with urgent reports. Admiral, all our scanners show the same pattern. A massive gravitational scar. Varos clenched his jaw. Can we locate the source? No, sir, it's like it appeared then vanished. Varos stared out the viewport. Space was calm, silent, empty, but now he understood something terrible. Empty space did not always mean safe space. On the Imperial Council world, panic turned into anger and anger turned into denial. This is human manipulation. They fabricated the echo. Humans are tricking us to make us fear. No human technology can create gravitational distortions. But the high strategist shook his head. I watched the echo myself. It has the same signature as the destruction of the human colonies, and humans are not advanced enough to fake this. No one in the galaxy is. A counselor slammed the table. Then why are they warning us? Why help us? The strategist answered with a single quiet sentence. Because they know what happens when no one helps. Silence fell over the chamber. For the first time in centuries, the Empire felt small. Back in the docking bay, Rallon struggled to stay steady. Captain Ward, he said, you said your ship can fight the silence. Ward inhaled slowly. Yes, fight, not defeat. What does that mean? Ward turned the hologram to show a huge wave of darkness spreading across a solar system. When the silence arrives, everything in its path collapses. Buildings fall inward, skies break. Oceans lift into the air, ships lose structure, stars dim. The second human added, your weapons will not touch it, your shields will not hold, your fleets will not survive. Rallon whispered, then what hope do we have? Ward's expression softened for the first time. You have us. Rallon blinked. Yes, humans, we discovered something the silence does not like, a weakness, small but real. What is it? Rallon demanded. Ward lifted a device shaped like a cylinder, glowing a faint blue. Resonance energy, Ward said, a technology we created after losing 2 worlds. It disrupts the silence temporarily, not a full weapon but a doorway, a shield gap. Rallon stepped closer. A doorway to escape, Ward shook his head. A doorway to fight. Suddenly the station lights flickered. BZZZT flick flick, then stabilized. Rallon froze. Report, he yelled. A calm officer's panicked voice answered, Commander. Gravitational fluctuation detected, stronger than before. Rallon felt his throat tighten. Ward's eyes narrowed. He stepped toward the viewport. It's closer than we thought. Rallon rushed to the nearest console. Where is it? Can we see it? The sensor chief shouted, not visually, but gravity readings are unstable. Something huge is distorting real space. Ward muttered, no, it moves unseen. If we see it with our eyes, it's too late. Rallon turned sharply. So what do we do? Ward replied, we do what humans do best. Rallon frowned. What is that? Ward gave a ghost of a smile. We survive. On the border fleets, alarms screamed across bridges. We're picking up ripple waves. Gravity is bending between the stars. It's like a giant hand pushing space. Drones are flashing red. On Admiral Varos's flagship, the bridge lights dimmed. What in the Emperor's name is happening? Varos shouted. The science officer looked pale. Admiral, it feels like space itself is holding its breath. Back at the station, humans and Imperials gathered at the large viewport. The void outside was dark, still and silent. Nothing moved, but the silence was unnatural. Ward pointed. Look at the starlight. Rallon frowned. What about it? Ward extended a finger toward the far distance. The stars are flickering, not because they are unstable, but because something is bending their light. Rallon zoomed the display. Stars that normally shine bright now pulsed strangely, like something passed in front of them, but no shape was visible, nothing at all. What are we looking at? Rallon whispered. Ward answered softly, a shadow without form. Rallon felt his skin crawl. It is here. The docking bay vibrated, not a shake, a slow pull, as if gravity itself was inhaling. Rallon gripped the railing. What is it doing? Ward watched carefully. It is searching. Searching for what? Rallon asked. Ward met his eyes. For life, for energy, for anything to consume. The second human added, it can sense fleets, it can sense cities, it can sense heat. Rallon felt his heart pounding, and it sensed us. Yes, Ward said, and now it wants to know how big the Empire is. Rallon's voice cracked. If it finds out, Ward finished the sentence for him. It will accelerate, suddenly. The entire station shook violently. Thuum panels sparked, consoles flickered, the sensor chief screamed from the comms, Commander, a full-scale gravitational wave is heading toward us. Rallon froze. How strong? Stronger than our shields can take. Rallon turned to Ward. Can your ship help? Ward pressed his wrist device. A signal flashed. A second later, the human warship outside lit up like a blue sun. Thousands of plates shifted. Engines ignited. A deep hum vibrated across the entire region. Rallon stared in awe. The warship moved not with thrusters, but like gravity bent around it, allowing it to slide through space. The human warship reached a position between the station and the incoming wave. Ward said quietly, hold on. From deep space, the silence released its first touch. A dark ripple, invisible, silent, yet powerful enough to crush a moon, raced toward them. The human warship fired a pulse of blue resonance energy. The ripple hit the blue pulse and space exploded with light. Boom! The docking bay shook as if reality cracked. The ripple split, the wave bent, the station survived. Rallon blinked, stunned. We lived. Ward nodded. For now. Rallon breathed heavily. Your ship, it saved us. Ward stared out at the dark distance. You haven't seen anything yet. The alarm suddenly shifted pitch. New warnings lit up. Commander, the silence is changing direction. Where is it going now? Ward's voice turned cold. Toward your nearest colony. Rallon's blood ran cold. How much time do we have? Ward stared into the void. Not enough. He turned toward Rallon. We must warn the Empire now. The silence, an invisible destroyer, had appeared and vanished like a ghost. And even though it left no physical trace, the psychological damage was enormous. The Empire always believed it had absolute control over its borders. Today that illusion shattered. Commander Rallon hurried through the corridor beside Captain Ward, their footsteps echoing fast and tense. We need to reach the command center, Rallon said. The Council must hear your warning. Ward nodded, but his expression was far from calm. The silence is unpredictable, he said. If it already touched your border, then it may attack anywhere next. Rallon swallowed. Our nearest colony is Serax 3. Ward didn't hesitate. Then that is our next target. Rallon nearly stopped. Target, you mean the silence? No, Ward corrected quickly. Our target, the place we must defend. Rallon stared at him for a long moment. Something strange was happening. The Empire, proud and mighty, was suddenly depending on a species it once called weak. In the observation deck, the mood was different now. No one argued. No one tried to deny anything. Officers sat stiffly, breathing shallow, staring at the data streams. The sensor chief looked pale. Commander, he said when Rallon and Ward arrived. We just received 50 distress calls from across the region. Rallon rushed toward the display. 50? That makes no sense. One officer tapped her console. People are panicking. Civilians on border worlds think the end is coming. Another added, ships are abandoning posts. Merchants are scrambling. Even some military captains are requesting retreat. Rallon slammed his palm on the console. Retreating without orders is treason. Ward placed a hand on Rallon's arm. Fear makes people do strange things, he said softly. Your empire is facing something it can't understand. Don't blame them, guide them. Rallon looked at Ward oddly. The human sounded like a leader, a superior one. Across the Empire, chaos began spreading. On the world of Kairos 5, civilians rushed into shelters, thinking the silence would swallow them any second. On mining stations, workers refused to go back into tunnels, believing the ground would collapse like the human colony in the holo recording. On warships, some crew members quietly prayed, even though the Empire had no official religion. Fear was shaking the Empire more effectively than any enemy fleet ever had. Inside the Imperial Council chamber, the situation was no better. Councilors yelled over one another. We must evacuate the border. No, if we evacuate, the silence will know we are afraid. You fool, it does not care about fear, it follows energy. Then we should shut down every station, silence everyone, the high strategist roared, slamming his fist on the table. The chamber went quiet. A trembling aide rushed in with a datapad. Council W, we have new data. Silence is moving toward Serax 3. Gasps echoed through the chamber. That is one of our biggest colonies. Millions live there. Why that world? The high strategist answered slowly. Because Serax 3 produces enormous amounts of energy, enough to lure the silence. A counselor whispered, we must summon the fleets. Another replied, summon fleets to die. Voices rose again until the strategist shouted, we will hear the human's message first. The entire room froze. Because that sentence was the first time in history the Empire had said anything like it. Back on the border station, Captain Ward stood before the large holomap of Imperial space. Rallon's officers gathered behind him, studying every flashing red alert. Ward pointed at the red marker. There, the silence is heading for Serax 3. Rallon nodded firmly, then we must move our fleet there. Ward's expression hardened. Moving is not enough, you need a plan. What plan do you suggest? Ward cleared his throat. We will set up 3 layers of defense, gravity nets, resonance traps, and a final shield wall. The officers exchanged confused looks. Gravity nets, one asked. We don't have that technology. Ward nodded. We brought one generator with us, but we need your engineers to help deploy it. Rallon blinked. You think we can stop the silence with only 3 defenses? Ward shook his head. No. We cannot stop it, but we can slow it, delay it, hurt it. Rallon stiffened. Hurt it? Is that possible? A strange emotion passed over Ward's face, something between fear and determination. We never believed so until we tried. Rallon felt the weight of the words. Humans had already fought this enemy. Humans had already lost worlds. Humans had already suffered. And now humans were offering the Empire their only hope. Suddenly the station lights flickered again. Another gravitational tremor, the sensor chief shouted. Rallon turned to Ward anxiously. Is it the silence again? Ward shook his head. No, this is something else. The tremor grew stronger. Rallon clutched a console for support. What's happening? Ward closed his eyes, analyzing the vibration through the floor. It's the Imperial fleets jumping in. Rallon's eyes widened. Our reinforcements. Ward stepped back, more like a storm. Hundreds of Imperial warships ripped into normal space outside the station. Columns of brilliant blue light flashed as carriers, destroyers, and dreadnoughts arrived one after another. The border sky lit up like a starburst. The officers in the deck gasped. So many ships, the whole sector fleet is here. Even dreadnought-class vessels. Rallon squinted at the massive formation. Admiral Varos's voice echoed through the speakers. Commander Rallon, this is Fleet Command. We are taking control of the border. Stand by. Rallon replied quickly, Admiral, we have proof the silence is heading for Serax 3. We must. Varos cut him off. Commander, I will not take strategic advice from humans. Ward's jaw tightened. Rallon rushed to the comm panel. Admiral, without their technology, we will lose Serax 3, but Varos ignored him. We will intercept the threat at the border. The Empire bows to no one. The transmission ended. Rallon hit the console in frustration. Fool, Ward stepped beside him. He is behaving exactly how we expected. Rallon's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? Ward explained calmly. The silence does not respond to force, it responds to energy. The more ships he brings, the faster it will come. Rallon felt his heart sink, and he just called half the sector fleet. Ward nodded grimly. Which means the silence will arrive even sooner. Back on the flagship of the sector fleet, Admiral Varos stood proud, hands behind his back. We will form a wall, he declared. A line the humans cannot break. Bring every cannon online. His officers moved quickly. Sir, all dreadnoughts in position. Long-range cannons ready. Shields at maximum. Even the bridge seemed to shake with the energy output. One officer whispered, Sir, if the humans were right. Varos snapped. They are not right. Humans lie. Humans are desperate. Humans exaggerate threats. But sir, what if? Varos slammed his fist on the console. Enough. The officer fell silent. Varos pointed to the starfield. Whatever is coming, we will destroy it. But the truth was clear. He had no idea what was coming. Back on the station, Ward watched the enormous fleet with sad eyes. They will be the first to die. Rallon turned to him sharply. Then we must warn them. Ward shook his head slowly. They will not listen. Imperial pride is too strong. Rallon clenched his fists. Then we must make them listen. Ward looked at him with new respect. You truly want to save them? Rallon nodded. Yes, even fools do not deserve to die this way. Ward smiled, a tired human smile. Then there is one thing we can do. Rallon leaned closer. What? Ward looked directly into his eyes. Show them the silence. Before Rallon could respond, an officer screamed, Commander. Gravity readings spiking again, much stronger. Rallon rushed to the viewport. The stars were bending, space rippled like water. A black shadow without form passed behind the light. Ward whispered, It's here. The border of Imperial space had never seen so many warships gathered in one place. Hundreds of gigantic vessels floated in formation, their shields glowing, their cannons warming with deadly power. The sky outside the station looked less like space and more like a wall of steel, metal, and pride. But none of that mattered now, because something far darker was approaching. Commander Rallon stood beside Captain Ward at the viewport, watching space twist unnaturally. The stars weren't flickering anymore, they were bending, stretching, warping like soft clay. A young officer, voice trembling, whispered, Sir, is that the silence? Ward nodded slowly. Yes, or the front edge of it. Rallon's mouth went dry. What does that mean, front edge? Ward pointed to the distortion. That is only its shadow, its presence. The real body of the silence is still far behind, but approaching fast. Rallon exhaled shakily. And our fleet is right in front of it. Ward gave a grim nod. Exactly where it will hit first. On Admiral Varos's flagship, alarms screamed. Admiral, massive gravitational anomaly detected. Energy readings spiking, off the charts. Starfield distortion, unexplainable. Varos stood tall, refusing to show fear. Prepare all cannons, prepare kinetic launchers, this border will hold. His officers exchanged worried looks. Sir, are we truly going to engage something we can't even see? Varos growled, we will crush whatever threat approaches. The ships began charging their weapons. Blue light glowed across the fleet like a rising storm. Back on the station, the sensor chief yelled, Commander. The Admiral's fleet is locking weapons. Rallon slammed his fist against the console. No, they must not fire. They don't understand what they're dealing with. Ward stepped forward. We must warn them. Let me speak. Rallon turned quickly. They refused your message once. They will ignore it again. Ward nodded. Yes, so we must give them something they cannot ignore. Rallon frowned. What do you mean? Ward pointed at the holographic controls. You show them what the silence really looks like. Rallon stiffened. You want to broadcast the colony footage across the entire fleet. Ward shook his head. No, that is old footage. We show them something new. Rallon blinked. New. Ward stepped closer to the viewport. Look outside. The view changed slowly, terrifyingly. The stars were stretching wider now, not dimming, being pulled apart. It was as if some invisible ocean current flowed through space, dragging light with it. Ward whispered, "This is the silence in real time." Officers stared in horror. Stars are bending, space is moving, it's like the galaxy is breathing. Ward nodded, "Yes, and soon the fleets will see this too. We broadcast it to all ships." Rallon signaled the comm officers, "Patch this feed into every ship in the fleet." "Yes, Commander." Within seconds, every warship in Admiral Varos's formation displayed the live view of the twisting space. And for the first time, even the proud Imperial captains felt fear. On the flagship, Varos stared at the shifting stars in disbelief. "What is this?" A science officer stuttered, "Sir, this is not a natural phenomenon. This is the same signature from the human recordings." Varos snapped, "Impossible." The officer shook his head. "No, sir, this is the silence." Varos's eyes widened. Another officer cried, "The humans were telling the truth." Varos smashed his fist into the rail. "Shut up. Humans do not get the last word." But his voice cracked because even he didn't believe his own confidence anymore. Then it happened. The bending stars suddenly snapped into a straight line like elastic stretched to its limit. Time felt slow, space felt cold, everyone stared. Then boom, a gigantic ripple tore through the vacuum, rolling toward the Imperial fleet. Panels exploded across the deck, shields flickered, ship hulls groaned under the sudden gravity wave. Rallon grabbed the railing. "Hold on." Ward steadied himself without moving his feet. The wave hit the fleet, dreadnoughts shook violently, destroyers spun out of formation, cruisers lost orientation, light warships flipped upside down. It was like a giant hand had slapped the entire fleet at once. Varos screamed, "Stabilize, stabilize, all ships hold position." But many ships were already drifting out of control. On the border station, Rallon gasped. "That wave wasn't even an attack, was it?" Ward shook his head. "No, that was simply the silence moving." Rallon felt ice in his bloodstream. "What happens when it attacks?" Ward didn't answer. His silence said everything. Suddenly the view outside cracked with darkness, not like a shadow, not like night, like something was peeling space open. An enormous tear formed, black, smooth, silent, no shape, no face, no body, just a presence. A hole where space should be. Ward whispered, "The silence has arrived." Everyone in the room stepped back involuntarily. Rallon felt his knees weaken. That thing is bigger than a moon," Ward nodded. "Bigger than a starship, smaller than a planet, large enough to consume both." Rallon whispered, "We are nothing to it." Ward lowered his voice. "Not nothing, food." At that exact moment, Admiral Varos made the worst decision of his life. He pointed at the tear in space and screamed, "All ships fire everything." Across the fleet, hundreds of cannons released burning blue energy. Torpedoes launched. Missiles fired. Kinetic rounds blasted forward. The entire sky lit up like a storm of blue suns. The Empire unleashed hell. Bolts of energy slammed into the dark shape, but nothing happened. The weapons vanished into the hole. No explosion, no damage, no sound, like sand thrown into an endless ocean. Officers on the flagship gasped. It just absorbed everything. "We can't touch it. It's eating our fire." Varos pressed both hands on the railing, breathing heavily. What are we facing?" The dark tear widened, and a second ripple burst outward, this time stronger, faster, sharper. Ships buckled under the wave, some split apart, others cracked like glass under pressure. Small vessels shattered instantly, no fire, no debris, just silence. Rallon shouted, "We need to get those ships out of there." Ward nodded. "Yes. But they will not retreat, not unless," Rallon cut him off. "I will command them." He grabbed the comm panel and opened a fleet-wide channel. "All ships," Rallon yelled. "This is Commander Rallon of Border Station 12. His voice echoed across thousands of speakers. "Cease fire, do not engage, retreat to Serax 3 immediately." Varos's face appeared on another screen. "Rallon, you do not outrank me." Rallon yelled back, "This is not about rank, Admiral. This is about survival." Varos's face twisted with anger. "The Empire does not run." Ward leaned in beside Rallon. "Then the Empire will die." Varos froze. Ward continued, "We fought it, we lost to it, we learned from it. You cannot defeat it here, but we can weaken it if you let us lead." Varos stared at him for several seconds. Something broke inside him, his pride, his certainty, his refusal to trust humans. He lowered his head. "All ships fall back." Fleet-wide alarms shifted pitch. Retreat order received, pulling back, reversing thrusters. The mighty Imperial fleet pulled away from the darkness, and for a moment only the human warship remained between the Empire and the silence. Ward whispered, "Good, now we begin." Rallon turned to him confused. "Begin what?" Ward stepped toward the viewport. "The last choice." Rallon felt a chill run down his spine. "What choice?" Ward looked at him with calm eyes. "Whether your empire stands with us," his voice lowered, "or dies alone. The chapter ends."